Now I'm back in the APCD. I'm going to create a seam blend texture, and for this tutorial I'm going to do a fringe to green blend. So the first thing I need to do is clone the fringe texture. I always clone rather than create new textures, so I'll click on my fringe, make sure that way it makes sure I've got the correct fringe, and I'll go clone, and I'm going to call this fringe to green. Clone. Done. So now look to the end of my list, and there it is. I'll select it, and just so that I don't get confused, I'll rename it fringe to green on there and save it again. That way it will display on my list as fringe to green instead of just fringe. So this is going to be our seam blend texture, so I'm going to go in and edit it. We don't have to worry about categories and lies for seam blends because these will be ignored. Seam blends are special textures and they won't use these settings. So we need to go to edit material and change this single texture to seam blend. Now you'll see we've got spaces here for 3 textures, which we discussed in the last video, the alpha texture and the 2 normal textures. So I need the alpha texture in here and the 2 normal textures I'm going to use. Well, because I've selected the fringe, I can see that this fringe uses fringe underscore 2003 texture. So I know I can apply that into the first one because it's a fringe to green. I want fringe here and green here. I can now put an alpha texture in where it says alpha, so I'm just going to use the standard grass alpha for now. So I'll put that in there, and I need to now know what texture 2 is. Well, I'm not sure what my green texture is, so I'm going to have to save this now and just check it out. So I'll click on the green, I'll click on view material, and I can see what the actual texture is. Well, this is using green 01, so I've got to select green 01 in my seam. So we can now come out of there and select our seam blend texture again, go back in, and I need to select green 01 from the list for texture 2. Once I've got all 3 textures in, you'll see it's now appeared. It's not necessarily going to be to the scale that we're going to use because we might have planar mapped these textures to different sizes, but it will give us a rough idea of what's going on in this window. I need to just check the medium and fars if there are any in there because I've cloned a texture. Again, need to delete those, but in this case there aren't any, but if there was, I'd just delete them out for now. So there's just the near textures. And I'll click OK. And the last job to do is to set our terrain. Now we need to set the properties for the 2 textures that are in our seam blend, which in this case is our fringe texture and our green. And again, we need to know what these are. There may be more than one in our list, and if we're ever going to set custom terrain properties, we must make sure that we select the right texture, otherwise the terrain properties won't work correctly. So don't just go down the list and select fringe because you see a fringe, because there might be more than one. In this case there's a fringe and a fringe 2003. Well, we know it was fringe 2003, so I can set that, but I'm unsure about what green it was because again I didn't look, so I'm going to save it for now. And again, I'll select the green. And if I hold the pointer over the textures, it'll actually tell us what they are. So the actual name of the terrain that we're using. So this one is a green, which is this one, which is just called green. There'll be another green called green 2003, and if we've created any custom ones, there could be countless others. So we need to make sure we get the right one. Well, this is just called green, so for now I can select the texture properties for green. So again, I'll go in and I'll set terrain 2 to green. You see here we've got 2003, we've also got green 2, which is one I've created. So for now it's green, so we'll save it as green. And if we ever change our textures that surround our scene blend, so if I at some point change this green and make a custom, which I'm almost definitely going to do because I can't edit this green, it's a default one, so it won't let me edit it. So when I do create a custom green texture called green 2 or green 3 or whatever I call it, I need to remember to go into the scene blend for that and change this terrain property from green to whatever one I create. So that's something I need to remember to do if I ever create new textures. Always make sure you change the texture in the scene blend as well. So we've got our texture created, our fringe to green, and I'm now going to use the easiest method to create the scene blend faces I need. I'm going to extrude, so I'm going to select the whole of the green, get my camera into position for my extrusion, and I'm going to click extrude, and I'm just going to pull it down one notch. The first is the least amount it will move, which is there, and that will create the faces I need for my scene blend. So I'll now go face, and I'll region select that whole area, and we'll apply the fringe to green scene blend texture, ready for scene blending. So we're now ready to create our scene blend mapping, and we'll be doing that in the next video.